Hi, I'm Nick Critelli, Chair of the Iowa State Bar Association's Ethics Committee. Recently, we held an internet webinar where we discussed 5 new ethics opinions that deal with business relationships between lawyers. Hopefully by now, you've seen the introduction, where I explained the interrelationship between all 5 opinions. Now it's time to focus on each one individually. The first opinion is opinion number 1301, and it concerns the relationship called of counsel. As you will learn, we've greatly expanded its use, but there's a cost or a downside to an of counsel relationship. Let's take a look at the video clip from the presentation.
So here's a question that I want you to think as we segue into the of counsel. Can an employed probationary lawyer be of counsel to the law firm? Now, traditionally, we have looked at the of counsel relationship as being a relationship between a law firm and a retired member who's not going to be associated with the firm anymore. Okay, the retiree paradigm. That's been the traditional way we've looked at of counsel relationships. The new opinion, 1301, changes that. Okay, that changes that a lot. It expands it. It expands the use of that of counsel relationship to a new hire, and the answer to the hypothetical question is yes. Okay, it also expands it to law firms. So law firms can be of counsel to one another. Now, you folks, you ought to be sitting here looking at Dwight Dinkl's face. Dwight is going, really? When did we do that? Okay. Well, we did it. All right. Yes, law firms can have of counsel relationships to one another. But as all relationships are concerned, they do not come without cost. And the cost in an of counsel relationship includes conflicts. So clearly, when you have an of counsel relationship, you import conflicts of interest. So on the direct interest here, we have our retiree. If, say, we have a law firm that has 3 of counsel relationships, the retiree, another law firm, and a new hire. All of these people would be are in the conflict of interest loop. Why? Because they're considered part of the law firm for all ethical purposes. And I guess the tagline to this, Dwight, is they are considered part of the law firm for all ethical purposes. On the downside, you have conflicts. On the upside, you don't have to deal with client consent and compensation issues to use them. So you see that there's a yin and a yang here. But where this gets complicated, folks, is when one of counsel has another of counsel relationship, say to another firm. That's not in that loop. And when that occurs, you got a nightmare. Because now everybody is in a conflict situation, people that you may not be in an of counsel situation firm with. So this firm here, obviously, in our hypothetical, is not of counsel to the firm that started it off. So these people inadvertently become conflicted with respect to them, and vice versa. So that's the downside of using of counsel relationships as we're talking about it here today. Now, a way around that is simple. You just say you can't have any of counsel relationships unless we approve it, because we're all going to be, involved in the same situation if you do. So you've got to watch your of counsel relationships. And if you get involved in this, make sure that they don't have unauthorized of counsel. Otherwise, you end up with, you're back into the conflict cootie situation, okay? You have conflicts with people that you don't even know exist. So be very conscious with respect to that. Okay. Here's some takeaways. First of all, they're part of the law firm for all ethical purposes. Secondly, we run into a problem here. Claire Diallo, who is on the webinar today, is a lawyer friend of mine from New Jersey. And as soon as the opinion got published, Claire was on the phone saying, Nick, I went to Iowa Law School. All my roots are in Iowa, but I've not taken the Iowa bar. I'm a New Jersey lawyer. Can I be of counsel to an Iowa law firm like I have been in the past? And Claire raises a real significant issue. I called Paul Week and Charlie and Trey over at the Attorney Disciplinary and Client Security to say, well, how are you guys looking at this? And of course, what they're looking at is saying, look, they're part of the law firm, therefore they have to be able to practice law in Iowa. Because if you don't do that, what you do is you create an end run around the pro hoc vici rule. And that's not what they wanted to do. So you got to be qualified as an Iowa lawyer to be able to designate yourself as pro hoc vici, or excuse me, as of counsel. That also means that you have to be in good standing. So if you're behind on your CLE and anything of that nature, you're going to have a problem. So of counsel, basically you got to be a qualified a lawyer who can practice in Iowa. But what about people like Claire who want to have a good relationship with respect to Iowa? How do you deal with that? Claire, I don't have an answer yet. I'm looking into alternatives to see what other states have done in this regard. Can we have an affiliation? Can there be some type of designation on a letterhead that alerts people to the fact as to what the true standing is? So we'll figure some way out around this, because I think it is valuable to have these linkages and associations. But of counsel is not the vehicle with respect to it, the way we have it done. Law firm to law firm, yes, but once again, you do have the imputation of conflict. Compensation. The compensation is what you pay your of counsel lawyer is between the parties. In the past, of counsel lawyers could not be employed by the law firm. In fact, what started all of this up was a lawyer from Brooklyn, Iowa that said, Nick, can we have of counsel relationships here if I'm employed by a firm? And of course, the answer to that was no. Under the old existing rule, we could not. But he says, well, wait a minute, if I'm not an employee, how am I going to handle my health insurance? Okay, now I'm kicked off of the health insurance for the firm. So that's what started us, got us to open the can of worms, and I mean, it was a can when we got in.
Now do you see what I meant when I said we made some significant changes in the of counsel relationship? The next segment deals with Opinion 1302, the pro hoc vici relationship. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me at nick@critellilaw.com, nick@critellilaw.com. Until then, have a good day.